With the 2025 Arizona Cardinals training camp at the midway point, today we're going to be diving into exactly what we've seen from the Arizona Cardinals training camp, and we're also going to be diving into the top 4 standouts I have going into the 2025 regular season. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into another video. Definitely do me a huge favor, smack up that like button and subscribe for more Arizona Cardinals content. On this channel, we're covering the Arizona Cardinals news, breaking news, conversational pieces, everything surrounding your favorite team. So subscribe it up. It's absolutely for free. Now, we are doing a jersey giveaway if we hit 17K before the end of July. We are so close. So go ahead. If you're one of those guys that are just hovering around, make sure you subscribe it up. Absolutely for free. Hit that red button to make sure you have your post notification bell on as well, just so you're notified of when we drop the next video or when we go live. Content is coming, flooding through. It's just going to be content for days, just FYI. But ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and talk about it here. Let's dive into the biggest standouts here for the 2025 Arizona Cardinals in training camp. Now, at the end of the day, it's training camp. This is the time where the Cardinals offense is able to kind of learn from their mistakes, right? And the defense always usually has a leg up because of the defense just comes always with more juice than the offense. Sometimes it takes a little bit for the offense to go clicking. Now, I can honestly say when I have been to these training camps, I was a little worried about the offense. Obviously, it's training camp. As long as they learn, I'm okay with it. But that last day that I was there for training camp, which was last week, I thought the offense did pretty solid. I feel like Kyler Murray looked solid. We had a lot of crazy catches here from Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, Trey McBride is that number one focal point in this offense. He's going to continue to be fed. But in this week, when the pads actually came on, I was only really kind of able to watch vicariously through these highlights, right, of the training camp because I wasn't able to attend. Now, this coming Thursday and Friday, I will be able to be there, so I will be able to use my own eyes to kind of see what we've been seeing. But with what we've been seeing since pads have been on is that the defense has been kind of dominating the offense. Now, of course, the offense has kind of got their own and, made some really good highlight reels with Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, and the other weapons that we have on the offensive side of the ball. But we've been seeing at least, was it 3 picks for Kyler Murray? 2 that ended up happening yesterday, and that is one from Max Melton and another one from a great catch from Jalen Thompson. Now, like I said before, as long as I'm seeing Kyler Murray learn from these throws that are happening, I don't care that he has 2 interceptions, right? I don't care that he has 3 interceptions in 2 days. I can care less. What I want to see is a growth and a learning of, ball placement. Because let's be real, a lot of times he's probably throwing the ball when he probably doesn't have a clear visual of the tight end or the wide receiver in a specific route. Now, there was a question asked over to Jonathan Gannon, I believe it was a couple days back, on are the starters going to be playing in preseason. Now, I'm going to be real here. I do believe the starters should be playing in preseason. Now, of course, maybe not all 3 games, but I think there's a lot of benefits for the starters to go out here and play against other teams. There's going to be multiple times where you're going to be kind of going one-on-one with, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Will Johnson, but there's so much more benefits for Marvin Harrison Jr. to go against, other cornerbacks on our team, but more beneficial for him to go against other cornerbacks and other teams. And that's going to go, obviously, with the preseason matchups that we have this year. So I hope that the Arizona Cardinals do, in fact, use our starters in preseason. Now, of course, it's going to be a limited size. I'm not going to say use them for a whole game. These are meaningless games at the end of the day. But there will be a lot of benefits for the Arizona Cardinals offense to be kind of thrown in preseason to trying to get that timing down, time to get that chemistry down. And I'm not sure, but I don't know why it's taking this long for chemistry to be, get down from our number one wide receiver in Kyler Murray, but obviously there is still some sort of need. So I would say throw him out there for maybe a drive or 2, maybe a couple games. In that 3rd game, obviously we probably don't need to see them, but we have seen and heard that narrative that it's going to take a while for them to kind of get their chemistry down. They probably should have played last preseason, and I get it. Jonathan Gannon's very, very wary of making sure these guys are able to stay healthy going into the regular season, but we've seen a lot of mishaps, a lot of miscommunications that I'm hoping in this offseason/training camp and hopefully preseason, we're going to start seeing a lot of those miscommunications being kind of put to sleep, or at least not as consistent that we've been seeing in 2024 when we had such crucial games and obviously miscommunications happening still left and right. So let's see what happens there. We have heard a lot of great things about training camp. primarily on the defensive side of the ball. We've seen some really great catches here from Marvin Harrison Jr. Overall, this defense is looking pretty darn dominant. I'm really excited to see what Mack Wilson Sr. is going to do in his year two with the Cardinals. Now, I've been saying left and right that this guy is probably going to be a will linebacker. We've heard Jonathan Gannon come out and say that he might be playing the Mike linebacker position for the Cardinals. Now, he also kind of went out and said he might be flip-flopping, right? Well, we might see a situation where he might be playing Mike in a specific package, but Will in another one, right? Now, the great thing about Mack Wilson Sr., although his versatility, his physicality, and on top of that, he did get an interception on Kyler Murray in this training camp, which is absolutely a really good pick. But I want to see him be more utilized like the Cardinals have been doing so far. This is a playmaker, man. This is a guy that's an absolute playmaker. Now, that middle linebacking core, I still do feel like it's very, very unknown on what the Cardinals are going to be doing heading into the regular season. I still think that Jonathan Gannon has question marks about what they're going to do with that middle linebacking core. Now, obviously, the only real shoe-in that we have here is probably Mack Wilson Sr., but you got Akeem Davis-Gaither, you got J.J. Russell, you also got Cody Simon, which is a rookie, so it's very, very intriguing to see what they're going to do with that middle linebacking core. Now, there was some specific reps that we actually saw Zaven Collins, yes, former first-round pick, middle linebacker, moved to edge, but he had some specific packages that he was used as a middle linebacker. Are the Cardinals going to do that, or is this something that he was just kind of thrown in there in training camp to kind of just see a different look? We don't know, right? We don't know at the end of the day. I think Jonathan Gannon, when he was asked, he kind of really made it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal, but they're going to be using his versatility. But he mainly said that he was going to be an edge rusher. So I don't know exactly what the Cardinals are going to do with Zaven Collins, but he was seen in a middle linebacking position in training camp in a few different plays. So, like I said, that middle linebacking core is going to be very, very intriguing. And I'm not going to say murky, but there's just a lot of unknown when it comes down to that middle linebacking core. Now, of course, with the injury of Starling Thomas V, there's a lot of unknown with that cornerback room as well. So I'm excited to see what that defense is going to look like and what corners are going to start for the Cardinals defense. So super excited about that. But let's dive into my top standouts. Now, of course, I can make this list probably 7, 8 plus players, right? But I really want to kind of focus on some specific players that I want to talk about here. And of course, number one being Trey McBride. I'm telling you guys, if you guys are fantasy players, right? Like football fantasy players, get yourself Trey McBride if you can. Like he's probably going to be the top 3 tight end in fantasy football. Like he's going to be fed. Kyler Murray is still very, 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 very comfortable with Trey McBride being his number one option, and it's not even close. I was hoping that it was going to be Marvin Harrison Jr., but it seems to be very obvious that Trey McBride is that guy for Kyler Murray, so he's going to be fed. So number one standout right now, Trey McBride, right? We've seen a touchdown or two during training camp. He's being fed left and right, and as long as he can stay healthy, people are probably going to talk about Trey McBride leaving 2025 as one of the top tight ends in the NFL. And of course, he's probably one of the big rising stars for the Arizona Cardinals offense, and rightfully so. He deserves it, right? He's going to continue to get fed. He had the yardage last year. Now it's time to kind of give him those touchdowns to really kind of be recognized as one of those top dogs in NFL. So I'm excited about that. Number 2, Marvin Harrison Jr. I know there's some people out there that didn't want Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think that's kind of what they're continuing to talk about when it comes down to what his flaws were in his rookie year, right? Now, Marvin Harrison Jr. has bulked up. He's looked a lot better in terms of contested catches. There's been some, plays here and there that people kind of like to poke fun at. I believe that he was lining up against Will Johnson, and I think he actually slipped, but everybody's like, oh, Will Johnson beat him. Well, yeah, we'll give Will Johnson that specific rep, right? But overall, Marvin Harrison Jr. has looked very, very good. Like, not scared, playing more physical, playing more confident, playing more like a playmaker, right? We've seen a one-handed catch. We've seen some kind of him being more physical at the line and actually getting open, right? Causing more separation for himself and being more open. So obviously, I got Marvin Harrison Jr. as my second biggest standout here in training camp. Absolutely deserves it. I'm excited to see what he's going to do in the regular season. But like I said before, I would love to see what he does in preseason and see how he matches up with different cornerbacks that he's not playing with week in and week out or day in and day out to kind of give him a different look to see if he can truly translate that over to the regular season, which I got no doubt in my mind that he will. But of course, there's going to be some of those naysayers, right? Cardinal fans that didn't want Marvin Harrison Jr. with the 4th overall pick that are really paying a close attention to him in terms of was he the best pick for the Cardinals. And to me right now, he's still the best pick for the Cardinals at the 4th overall pick in 2024. So I'm really excited about what he's going to do here in year 2. Number 3 is going to be Mack Wilson Sr. Like I said, I feel like this guy he's going to be a real good player for the Cardinals. I feel like he's one of my favorite acquisitions a few years back or a couple years back for the Cardinals, and been nothing but a very good player for the Cardinals on the defensive side of the ball. And he's been very versatile. He does what Jonathan Gannon asks and Nick Rallis asks, and he's just an overall good player. He brings in the physicality that I was worried about the moment that Kazir White ended up, not signing back with the team. I think Mack Wilson Sr. brings that level of physicality that I'm hoping whoever that other middle linebacker is going to be next to him can replicate that type of play style, because Mack Wilson Sr. on the defensive side of the ball, I am very confident with him holding it down. In the middle, when there's a lot of unknown going into the regular season, I have all the confidence in the world that Mack Wilson Sr. can be that guy, and I got confidence, man. I'm excited about that. Number 4, Darius Robinson, although on paper probably doesn't seem like he's had an explosive, training camp, but I definitely do think he's going to be a very, very good player for the Cardinals. We've seen some flashes here and there. Here's the thing with the defensive line, it's really hard to be a standout because you can be very physical, right, at the line and be a specific, double team or beat your guy, right, that you're going against on a one-on-one, but you don't really get the satisfaction of a sack. You don't get the satisfaction of, finishing a play, because when you're on the defensive side of the ball, once you kind of break through, you're going to have to hold back, right? So on the defensive line, it's really hard to say, oh man, this guy had 3 sacks, 2 sacks, right? 1 sack, in his training camp day. But I do believe that Darius Robinson really took all the things he needed to learn from in year 1, which he only had a small sample size going into year 2. We all know that he bulked up. We all know that he looks like the Hulk now, right? We all know that this guy is going to be a big, big force, but I really want to see that next step. And of course, I would love to see him play in preseason as well to kind of really see and get a grasp of what Darius Robinson is, right? Who he actually is and what he can bring to this Arizona Cardinal defense. Because overall on paper, he has learned a lot from year 1 to year 2. He is playing more confident as well. Bulked up, looks better, looks stronger, looks more explosive, but I'm really, really excited to see what he's going to do. And I have him on here as my standout because, I'm always looking out for him, man. I'm always looking out to see where he's at. And overall, he looks really good in terms of the intangibles and what he's brought to this defensive line. Now, of course, like I said before, I can add some other notable players on this list as well. Some honorable mentions out there. Obviously, Kyler Murray has looked pretty solid. I'm not going to say he's looked great, but he's looked pretty solid. But this is a time where I need Kyler Murray to have these mistakes, right? To learn from these mistakes. So he's not really doing anything where I'm like, oh man, he's looking terrible. This is exactly what he needs to do. Throw the ball in the air, get that chemistry with Marv, get that chemistry with Trey, and learn from these mistakes that is happening, right? We have had 3 interceptions in a span of 2 days since the pads have been on. But like I said, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it because I would rather him make these interceptions now as opposed to in the regular season when the games really, really matter, right? But like I said, I can go ahead and put Kyler Murray on here as an honorable mention, as a standout. Another guy out there as well that I like to put on here is Dante Stills. He is, since I've been to training camp, which, like I said, I haven't been on since the pads have been on, but when I do go back, I'm going to really be paying attention to Dante Stills. I really want to see exactly if he does exactly what I saw, right, last week when I was in training camp. Is he able to disrupt plays? Is he able to cause penetration? I could put Dante Stills on here as well. Will Johnson being a rookie, I think he's already had some flashes here and there. I could put him on here as well. So there's a lot of good players to keep your eye on or call as standouts. It's just kind of really difference of opinion at this very moment. But overall, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a very, very exciting training camp for the Cardinals. I think the defense has looked better than the offense, but that's not something new, right? That's not going to be something where it's specific to the Cardinals. No, this is going to be something that happens throughout the NFL. Usually the defenses are better than the offenses. And once the offenses kind of get going and get the grease flowing, everything starts kind of getting better and looking better. So overall, ladies and gentlemen, who are your biggest standouts heading into the regular season? We are at the midway point of training camp. Let me know what your overall thoughts here in the comments below. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day and go Cardinals.